확성이 forwarded, but Pakachik did not. So.
I don't know. I'm a college baseball coach. We're supposed to play February 14th over in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania against Chatham. What's the chances of getting that game in 13 days from now in Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
It's truly my honor to introduce our speaker today. Lifetime friend for over 60 years. We share the same last name. I went to Canton Lincoln High School, and I had the honor of playing baseball for his father, Hank Miller, a legend in Stark County. He was also our line coach in football. A little bit older than Spider, and Hank used to bring him to the locker room all the time. That's when I first met Coach Spider. Coach Spider was an outstanding athlete. He went to Lincoln High School, played baseball, football, and basketball, and was a top-notch player in all three sports. The thing that always got me about Spider in football, get this combination. He was a quarterback on offense. He was a middle linebacker on defense. Now, how can you be a quarterback on offense and a middle linebacker on defense? So he was one tough nut, I can tell you. He had a great career, all Ohio, all county. Then he went on and played football in college, Muskingum University. And he was an outstanding player at Muskingum University for 4 years. He went into the education field. He started out teaching at Perry, then he went into the city school system, and he's been teaching ever since. So you can count the years up. He's had a truly distinguished career. Spider spent many years as an assistant coach, coaching for people like Keith Wakefield and Tom McDaniels as an assistant at McKinley for many years, 2 state championships. 1997, not only were they the state champion, they were the national champion. And then in 1998, they were also state championships. And then Spider went on to become a head coach. He was a head coach at McKinley. He got the Pups in the playoffs. Then he moved on to Perry. Was a very successful coach at Perry. During his tenure at Perry Panthers were in the playoffs. And then when I left Central to go be the athletic director and baseball coach at East Canton, we went together. Our football coach was Spider Miller. So we were AD and head football coach together for 6 years. He outlasted me. We were supposed to go out together. He outlasted me. One thing I'll say about Spider is his coaching. I told you McKinley and Perry. At East Canton, he's been a head coach for 9 years. He has between 21, 25, maybe 30 players. Been the head coach 9 years. Been in the playoffs 6 times.
Right.
This year, topped it all, a school record for wins in the season with 10. 3 rounds deep in the playoffs, got to the Sweet 16. 22, 23 players. So what I'm trying to say, in his long distinguished career, Spider Miller is a legend. And when you talk about the great football, everybody says Stark County is great football. There's been a lot of great coaches, legends. When you talk about them, you got to include the name Spider Miller among the great football coaches in Stark County for years and years. It's just unbelievable. And he has just as much enthusiasm for the game today as he had when he was a young guy with all that curly hair right out of high school and right out of college. And one thing I will add, being the athletic director and being in the building, this comes from other teachers and it comes from the students. He's a great teacher as well. And he's still teaching as well. as being a head football coach. So I want to bring up the legend, one of the great people, one of the great Stark County coaches, John Spider Miller.
Blowing a lot of smoke. I'm no legend. I just love doing what I'm doing, and I love being around kids and coaches. You know, you are fortunate enough to be around kids that want to be there. And I know we ended up with 22 kids this year towards the end because of injuries, but bottom line is you can only play 11 at a time, and our kids bought into that. You know, the success that we've had at East Canton is, and anywhere I've been, is because of the players that we've had and as well as the coaches that we've had. And I've been honored to be able to coach with Joe Demery, some of you may remember him from Perry, Keith Wakefield, Tom McDaniel, Jason Hall from Massillon. You know, I learned a lot from them. Learned a lot from my brother Mike as a head coach, and obviously my father, Hank Miller. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate this. Been here once before, but not as a speaker. You know, it's going next year will be 47 years of teaching and 46 years of coaching. I've already outlasted my father, so I'm not doing it for that reason. You know, it's something that's in our blood, and you love to do things. You love to be around kids, and I know it's all about wins and losses. I've been places where I've got fired because of that. I understand that. But you know, that one door closes, another door opens, and you deal with that adversity and you move on. Because that's how we were taught when we were young. But along with all those years of coaching, you have to have a family that supports you. You know, with playing time through high school and college and coaching, out of those going to be 47 years, my wife's been there for 55 some years, you know, so in high school, college, and so forth, and my family. Very supportive, go to the games all the time. We won a lot of games, so. And we did have a great year this year. You know, you look at the All-Ohio board that we have in our new Fultz field house. It's a couple of years old now, but in the last couple of years, we haven't had anybody on the All-Ohio list. We had 4 kids this year make it. Dylan Anderson, who was a linebacker, had over 160 some tackles. He was first team. Then you had Owen McCroskey that broke season records throwing. And, you know, he was second team. And then you had Aiden Stevens, who's a junior that had so many yards, you know, the most yards in the season. He was third team. And then you had Frank Gallagher as an offensive and defensive lineman that just did a great job of center. So when you get guys on that board, you know you usually do have some success. And it comes in waves at smaller schools. You know, you're up here, and then you got to go down, then you got to rebuild, and then you go back. You know, right now, you know, our kids are working hard with that rebuilding purpose. You know, we start obviously lifting and in our great facility that we have. It's not like it used to be when I first started coaching. You know, it was like 2 hours, 2.5 hours of lifting. Well, that we don't do that anymore. At East Canton, we had probably one of the nicest weight rooms in Ohio, in high school, for a Division VII school. And come back to that, but when I came to East Canton and I got introduced as a head football coach, I met with the kids and I told them, I said, you know, one boy said, you've only coached Division I. I said, yeah, but you know what, I'm going to treat this Division VII school like a Division I school. You're going to have the things you need. Well, our treasurer wasn't real happy with me the first 3 years. Because, you know, I mean, we had, and it's nothing against anybody, it's just money talks. And we had 3 different helmets with 3 different helmet kits. And I was the equipment manager along with my coaches, so, you had to have the right kit for the right helmet, and, so that changed, and shoulder pads, some of you might remember Gold Circle shoulder pads were about 40 years old, and I got rid of a lot of stuff, and we bought some new stuff, and our field equipment, we have as much on our field, practice field, as the Division I schools, and we use the stuff we have. So our kids are get treated right, whether they're Division 7 or Division I. Everywhere I've been, our kids have always got treated right. Doug mentioned that we've been in the playoffs 6 out of 9 years. I know one of those years was COVID, and this past year going into the third round, and then, we met Mogador, who was a really good football team. But our kids play hard, they're disciplined, they have respect for the game, they're coachable. And what I was starting to talk about earlier was, our kids hit the weight room. I have a class in the morning before school starts to get athletes in there. And then I have one today, 9th period at 2:20, which I'll get back to. They're not all athletes, but most of them are. And, they lift, and then we do our lifting, and we've had some really good numbers. At a smaller school, a lot of kids play basketball or they're in other sports. So most of them try to get into my weight training class so they can lift during the day so they can get their lifting done. And last year, there was a great commitment to that, and you can see it on the field because, we had 6, 7 guys going both ways. And when you have 20, we started out with 27, then towards the end, because of injuries, 22, special teams are hard too. Those kids are playing special teams, they're playing both ways, but our kids were in really great shape because they took pride in what they were doing. It's a credit to the kids, and we're a great community. Everywhere I've been, it's been a great community. Like I said, started out at Perry. Brother Mike and I, we were talking yesterday. I taught elementary physics, kindergarten through 5th grade. We were talking how many shoes we had to tie. He made the comment, well, I picked kids that knew how to tie, so they helped them. I told them, go get Velcro shoes, right? But, you go from K through 12, and I'm teaching at Perry, and then I go to McKinley, and I'm teaching at the Lehman Junior High, and then at McKinley, and then from McKinley back to Perry, then Perry, I stayed there, and I coached at Massillon. How this all worked out as far as me being at East Canton, in 2015 as a teacher, and I had 35 years as a teacher, you could go out in retirement and get 88% of your retirement. If you kept teaching, that went down into low 70s. Well, so I thought, I'll retire. Not that I wanted to retire. And then the day before school started, I was doing something at Perry, not as a teacher, but helping. I get a phone call from Joe Chaddick, who's superintendent of Stark County Schools. He says, hey, are you looking for a job? I said, sure. So he said, can you go over and meet Todd Boggs at East Canton tonight at 7 o'clock? I said, well, I'm at Perry. Yeah, obviously I'll be there. So I go and they offered me a teaching job. I said, teaching job, and if I wanted to be an assistant coach football wise, but it was August, and that was the one year I didn't coach just because of the fact I didn't know the kids and I didn't know the staff and thought it would be the best thing to do. So the following day I'm at convocation, first day of school, not knowing anybody. I think some people might have saw or knew who I was, and that's how it all started. And then the following year, I interviewed for the job and got the job. But I preach about a lot of things with our kids and our coaches do too, but the bottom line is the order in which, your faith, your family, your school, and your sport, that's the order. Some people put sports above all that, but if you don't have your faith, and I'm not preaching here, and you don't have your family, and you don't do your schoolwork, there's not going to be a number 4. You have to do your work. we, like I said before, we teach kids how to deal with adversity and respect the game. And my siblings and I all learned that when we were growing up. When we were growing up, I grew up in Louisville till the 5th grade, and then father was coaching football at Canton, Lincoln, and driving every day, and then we moved. But, we had a great neighborhood. There were like 28 kids in our neighborhood in Louisville, and Mike was the instigator all the time. And I'm the one that got in trouble. And then street lights come on, you better be home at 6 o'clock. Some of you can remember that. If you weren't home, Dad was standing there waiting for you. Everybody knows, I think most of you know my father, great man, do anything for anybody. Maybe not money-wise, but he could do stuff with his hands, blah, 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 carpentry and things like that. And he was tough, and that's okay, But the person that was really tough was my mom. My mom, Mike and I were talking about this. My mom, Mike was 7, my sister was 6, 5, and I was 4. My mom was a nurse. Well, she got MS. The doctor told her she'd never walk again. Well, she told him to go to hell. So my dad built these cast iron walkers, not a walker, but she had to walk through it. And eventually she went back and she was a nurse and she worked in a nursing home, some type of nursing home. So she was tough, I remember, and here's really tough. Back in the day, they thought that bee stings would help with MS and the pain. And my dad would go over to the other side of Youngstown on 80 there, and he'd bring home a jar full of bees. And my mom, he would sting her with those bees up and down her leg, 25 of them. She didn't say nothing. That's tough. That's tough. And I had to do it to her. I think Mike probably did too. And then you had to go back and get more bees. But she believed it helped with MS and the pain and the fatigue. And I don't know if it did or didn't, but watching somebody get stung, some get stung once, it's like, slap it, pull the thing out, whatever. But you get it 25 to 28 to 30 times in the leg, that's pretty tough. So yeah, my dad was tough. My mom was too. But bottom line is you don't piss off either of them. Growing up in our neighborhood in Louisville, if you got in trouble and one of the parents saw you, you got whooped by that parent. And then when you got home, you got whooped again. So it was like, it is what it is, So we went on and we moved to Canton, and I went to Canton Lincoln High School. Yeah, and I bleed, maroon and gold. I know these are the schools I've been at. I love them. But, when you go to high school at Canton Lincoln, it was a great honor to be there with the people that I was there with and the teachers. I did play football, basketball, and baseball, and I loved all of them. My dad coached me in football, and then he was the head coach in baseball. And Kenny Newland coached me in basketball, and I was just a guy that would hustle and do the things that you were supposed to do and play defense. And on the top of the 2-3 zone, I would dive to the ball, try to get the ball from the side. I'm the guy that had to guard Elmer Jackson from McKinney, and I was happy I held him to 20 points. But the true story with Coach Newland, love that man. We're playing Cuyahoga Falls, and I'm the guard, and I'm bringing up, and we had Art Timberlake, who could shoot anywhere, and then you had Kevin Best, who was tough inside. Well, I thought, I'm going to shoot this ball. I'm wide open on the elbow. So I shoot the ball, and it bounces out of bounds, and Coach Newland calls timeout. He meets me at half court. He says, "Don't you ever shoot the ball again." Okay, Coach, I won't shoot it. So the following Friday, we're playing at the field house, and we're up 15 with like 2 minutes to go, and I got a breakaway layup. So I dribble, I could see him go. I dribbled up, dribbled out around, came out up on top. He calls timeout, says, "Why didn't you shoot the ball?" I said, "Can I tell you honestly? Because you told me never to bleep and shoot the ball again, so I didn't." So, it's just, we were, you playing against Mike Midday, Phil Hubbard, Elmer Jackson, Ray Ellis, some of all these teams and players that you got to play against that ended up going on and playing at the next level, and then playing baseball for my dad. I was a good player. Mike was a better baseball player than I was, but I gotta tell this story, Doug. I'm playing baseball for my dad, and we're playing Hoover at Hoover. It's the bottom. I don't know why it was the bottom of the seventh, whatever. Doesn't matter. We had a runner on second and third, no outs, and we're losing 1-0. I think I was batting third. I already had a hit. So I go up. I don't even look down at my dad, which was a mistake. Because I'm thinking, I'm going to hit away, maybe get a fly ball, get this guy tied up. My dad calls a double squeeze, and I don't see it. Meaning the runner from second and the runner from third were coming home no matter what. So I'm here, and I didn't see it, and all of a sudden, 1 out, 2 outs. I said, "Oh, man." He goes, like that. And I won't tell you what he said, but he said, "Give me your bat." So he goes about 5 feet from home plate on the third base line and puts an X right there, big X. Said, "Bunt it and put it on the X and go come home to eat dinner." I said, "There's 2 outs." He says, "I don't care. You missed the sign." He tells their third baseman to come right up there, tells his first baseman to stay there. And Gordy Nyes, who's the head coach, and says, "Do whatever he says." And he told the catcher not to even go for the ball. I put it on the X. I got out. I did not go home with my dad that night. I got a ride. But, you just stories. But like I said, my dad would do anything for anybody. And so would my mom. That's how we were brought up, to respect other people with kindness. And, in the heat of the battle, you get fired up. And I can get fired up pre-game sometimes. Now, as I get older, it's like, "Dang, man, I need oxygen." If I have to light myself on fire to get you fired up about a football game, something's wrong. But most of our kids are pretty fired up. Muskingum got to play, like Doug said. My brother was a senior, my sister was a sophomore, and I was a freshman. And we got to be on the kickoff team. Actually, I think one time Mike was across from me. We were facing, but also at practice, he probably doesn't remember, but we're running routes against defensive backs, and I told him, I said, "I'm going to run a post." He didn't remember this, but I do. I didn't run a post. I ran a 5-yard out to make him look bad. Or whatever the route combination might have been. It is what it is. But it was fun being here, and our parents could come down and watch the games together. I want to see all 3 of us, and bring my younger brother Mark, who's a judge now. He didn't get into football. I think he just got tired of getting drugged around to games all the time. But it's nice to have. First, he was a prosecuting attorney, and then he's a judge. Nice to have one of those when you're a coach. Maybe get you out of trouble, but talk about players. I mean, at the Hall of Fame, maybe some of you have seen it. I have not seen it, other than with these guys that are from Stark County that went on and played pro ball. I need to go over and see it, but Mike was telling me, since he works at the Hall of Fame, I mean, I looked at the board, and out of those guys, I've had the privilege of being an assistant coach for 8 of those guys that played in the NFL. I mean, that's a great honor to me to be able to do that. And 5 of them, I coached their position, in high school. And I know I didn't have much to do with all their success, but I got to coach them. Mike Doss, Tyler Everett, Reggie Corner, Devin Smith from Masson, Garen Conley, Jamar Martin, Kenny Peterson, and Percy Snow. Those guys there, those names come back and people remember those names. I was a dumb one as a coach at McKinley. There's Mike Doss as a freshman, and I didn't play him right at the beginning. I didn't think he was ready. Well, he was ready. He was ready. Along with those guys, I've had the honor to coach just kids, that care and play hard and just want to be a part of a family and want to be successful. And sometimes you're not successful. I know you get measured by your wins and losses. I understand all that. And nobody more than me doesn't want to lose. We don't want to lose. We want to win. We don't spend all nights watching a lot of film and doing things, to get beat. But sometimes people just might be better than you, or you just didn't play up to your par. But had some great kids. I mean, kids that come back. And the problem is, like my grandson plays on the JV team at McKinley. I go to those games and I see people, but I can't remember everybody's names. You've been doing this for years, and I finally just come out, hey, I don't remember. I try not to be rude. I just don't know. People have changed over the years. So I'm sure a lot of you have played sports and have many stories about playing. Mike and I went to Columbus last night for my sister's birthday, and we're talking about concussions. What was a concussion when we played? That was a headache, That was just a headache. I mean, you get up and shake your head and get back in there. Don't come out, But I understand it. I do understand it. I mean, I get it. And I follow the rules. I mean, the guys that have coaching for me now and wherever I've been, they've been great guys and they do a lot for us. And, our team doctor or trainer who is Marty Giles, I mean, whatever he tells me, I do. That's just it. I'm not one of those guys that is going to push somebody into playing when they shouldn't be playing, because the safety of our football player is more important than a game. And if he says, look, he's got a 5-day protocol, then he's got a 5-day protocol. That's just the way it is. So I appreciate all that he has done as well. Going back to Muskingum, there were 3 of us in school at the same time in college, and I don't know, we had to work all the time. Charlie Bolander, Bolt Lumber hired Mike and I in the summers to work there, Christmas break, spring break, whatever. So we did that. Heck, Mike had graduated. I was a junior. I was shoveling coal in the furnace from 11 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning. Of course, the guy said you could sleep a little bit here, sleep a little bit here. He'd wake me up to do it or do your schoolwork, and then you go back and you take a shower and you go to your class. Now, could I do that today? No. We need to sleep or something. But I tell you what, I don't know how much time I have left, but I appreciate you letting me come here and rattle on a little bit. Back to East Canton, though, they've treated me great. A few years ago, the community backed me in some situations, which I'm not going to get into any of that. But, it's a small school with a big heart, and they love their sports, whether it's football, basketball, track, baseball. Last year, I coached softball. I was the head softball coach because our softball coach had a baby, and so I stepped up. Well, I'm not doing that. I can't. It's too much from football to that, and I love it because my daughter who plays, she's a junior, but not to do that, but my point is, everybody at East Canton kind of sticks together and works, and it's all about the kids. And that's what we can't forget, that it's all about our kids and putting them in the best position to be successful in school as well as in their athletic sport that they may be in. You know, but thank you very much. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed a couple months. I could tell you more, but I'd have to not, I don't know if I can tell them cleanly, so I'll leave it alone. But anyhow, are there any questions? Not you, Pat. Yes, sir.
The difference between the pressure coaching out of McKinley and East Canton.
I think that pressure is, for me, it's the same. I'm gonna put the same pressure on myself, whether I'm at McKinley, Massillon, Perry, or East Canton. I think
It's your mic. Yeah, this is, yeah.
I think the community pressure is greater, you know, and the expectations may be greater than maybe at East Canton. Although those expectations are high, it's just maybe the pressure from the powers above isn't the same, you know. Yes, sir.
Where does the name Spider come from?
I wish I could tell you I ate them, you know, but I didn't. We were roofing our house harder, and Mike was up there, my dad was up there, and I was younger. And I was the guy that had to go up and down the ladder to get the tools or shingles or whatever. So I was just going up and down the ladder, and he said, "Hey, you look like a spider." That was it. Simple as that. But I knew if I got called John at home, I was getting in trouble. If I was called Spider, I was gold. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
You've been around a long time and dealt with a lot of kids. Are the kids today different from the kids of 20 years ago?
Kids are different, but some of that is because the culture they're brought into, or up, I guess. I think that's changed. You got kids that on cell phones, on cars, we didn't have any of that. You know, they want to work, so we don't get the players. I also believe that, you know, how do I want to say this? I think some of the parents have changed as well. And I'm not being mean here, but I know that when you start a sport, you finish the sport. And you give it everything you have when you're there, and you don't miss anything, you know. I'm not so sure that's the same as of today, you know. And I think it's the culture, you know, and the lifestyles. And I mean, you were at practice, whether you had to ride your bike or walk, right? I mean, if you played in school, you know, you just had 5 days off of school because of the weather. And we're thinking back, we never missed school. You walk to school, you know. I'm not complaining, you know, as long as we don't have to make them up. But you know, I don't know if I answered it. Yes.
Coach, I was a sophomore playing at Lehman when you were a senior at Lincoln. I want to congratulate you for holding Elmer Jackson to 20 points because he got 26 against me. I don't know if you remember, if you could comment how great that last year of all city basketball was.
Oh,
Teams.
yeah.
Tremendous.
Yeah. All city night was like you'd go out on that floor and you'd be warming up, and there'd be 2 games, you know, whether you're the first game or second. But the first game, I remember going up and we're warming up, and the aisleways up on the top. Man, everybody, their brother was out there smoking, and all that smoke was coming in there, and you could see it. And it's like, I remember telling Artie, look at all that. All those people smoking up there. And it was just lingering around the top. And then you go in and you come back, and then it was kind of gone, and everybody was sitting in their seat. All city night was awesome, you know. And no matter who you were playing, you know, it was balls to the wall, you know, it was just the way it was. And, you know, then they had all city night alumni, and I got to play in that with Bruce Fowler and some of those guys. And I can remember diving, we're playing McKinley, and I dove for a ball out of bounds, and somebody said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I've lost to these guys every year. We're not losing today." I'm sorry. We're going to do whatever we have to do. So, yeah, all city night was fabulous, you know.
Over here, Coach. What kind of team are you gonna have next year? You can't.
You know, we lost some kids, but we also have some kids coming back, as long as we can stay healthy. We have 4 linemen back, which is good. They're going to be juniors, are going to be seniors and 1 junior. We have 2 wideouts back. We have a running back back. Defensively, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kids back. So, you know, we lost a great quarterback, and but we have some youngsters that are very potential, that have the potential to do the things that we need them to do. And actually, Jaron can wing the ball pretty well, but you know, I'm not the type of guy who just wants to wing it all over the place. I'd rather run it and get the first down and eat up the clock. But in today's world, you know, it's a little bit different, although you do need to be able to run the ball. If you can stop the run on defense, most of the time you're going to win a game, you know, no matter who it is, at any level. Okay. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
How much NIL money do you get?
I don't like any of that. I didn't like the NIL in college. I don't like the NIL. My belief is that a college player commits to a program, he or she should stay, this is just my opinion, stay there till their junior year. We had this conversation yesterday. And then if you choose to leave, you have to pay back your senior year.
I like that.
I mean, how can you be a college coach in any sport and you have your team and the next year, oh, this guy got pissed off because you didn't play him enough and he decides to leave, or this person, I mean, how can you be a coach? You know, I mean, I know that in the colleges, they have their own staff for that, but I mean, you never know who's gonna stay, who's gonna leave. No, I'm not. I don't think Canton has to worry about the NIL, but that'd be great if we did. I think maybe bigger schools, McKinley, Madison, St. Ignatius, St. Ed's, and some of those probably do, but no, I don't like it. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
And thanks for taking my number on 50.
Oh, I knew it. I saw that, so I could have. Okay.
What subjects do you teach?
I teach high school health. I teach 2 weight training and fitness classes. I teach 8th grade health, and then I teach high school phys ed class. It's great. They're good kids. Yes, sir.
Yes, I won't ask this if you don't want me to. It's about school boards.
About what?
School boards?
Yes.
Okay, do you think the school boards should not be voting for coaches or anything like that? Because what if a member has to sit on the team or something like that?
I haven't thought about that, but you know, they could be on the board and then, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that, but I know it happens. But you know, the old joke is, you know, you got to get the Board of Education's son on the field someplace, or daughter, you know, you got to do what you got to do. But that, I don't believe in that. If you're good enough to play, you're going to play. If you're not, you're not. Whether you're the president's son or whomever, it doesn't matter. I'll take the consequences. Yes, sir.
Later, I want to quickly congratulate you on being the Stark County WHBC Coach of the Year.
Thank you. Thank you.
The reason I lead with that is your peers think the world of you.
Thank
Think
you.
about that at Division 7, when you're competing against all that other business, they think the world of you. So I'm going to bridge a question and say, now that experienced championship coach by what would you say to young Spider as he's just getting started in coaching?
I would tell him to stick with the plan, the journey, and do it the right way. And don't do anything that could hinder your program. Do it. Hire good coaches that you trust. Surround yourself with the people that you need to be surrounded by. Because when you're losing and things aren't going well, you need those people to lean on besides your family. I would just, be fundamentally sound at everything we do. We never, and Tom McDaniels just said, never abandon the basics. You can sit in that room on Saturday and draw all the X's and O's you want, whether it's basketball or football or whatever. But the bottom line is you got to be able to execute it to perfection. So sometimes you have to simplify things. You may think you can do all these things, but not necessarily. So I would say stick with your guns, do what you believe in, treat people with kindness and respect, and treat your players with kindness and respect, and that'll go a long way, and be in their corner. Yes, sir.
Spider, this is a little bit off the subject, but about 30 years ago, you came in my house.
It's fine, peeling by now.
Starting to peel now. Do I have any warranty left?
There's no warranty on anything that long. I say good siding. I actually, besides football, I did coach girls basketball in McKinley for, I think it was 10 years with Stu Davis. We were pretty good. I mean, back in the day, we were really good, actually. Other than one game, we're playing Boardman. I don't know what it is. We're playing Boardman, and we're playing at Boardman, and they're really good. And it's a tie ball game, and it's tight down the stretch. And we had an official that had a hard time getting up and down the floor. So it's late in the game. I won't tell you exactly what I said, but I said, if you could get up and down the floor, maybe you can make a call. There's like a minute left in the game, and I get a technical, and Stu's looking at me and say, oh. So anyhow, we get the ball back, and Julie McCudu went to Georgetown for basketball. She gets fouled, and she's got to make one to tie it, make both of them to win. There's like 2 seconds. She stunk both of them, man. I was so happy for her. It's hard sitting on that bench not saying anything, I remember in the 8th grade I was coaching, and first year of coaching girls basketball was in 8th grade at Perry, and I can't sit down on this bench. I got to be standing up, moving around. Before the game, even after the first minute of the game, I ripped my pants from the back all the way up. So the bus driver says, hey, just sit there. Let me put some pins in there. I said, pins? I'm not going to be able to move. So I sat on that bench the whole time because I would have got jabbed with some pins in my butt. And then I probably would have sworn. Then I would have gotten technical. It is what it is. A lot of stories, a lot of great times. But anybody else have any questions? I appreciate it, your time.
Coach,
Yes.
this isn't a question. This is just a trivia question for everybody. I was going to do it in my introduction, and I went off script. History of Stark County football. There's only 2 coaches that took 3 schools to the playoffs. Anybody got that answer?
Spider. I get those. Jack Rose. He took 3 schools.
No.
Playoffs. He took St. Thomas, Glen and Mass one.
All right there's your answer then. Spider and Jack Rose took 3 schools in the playoffs.
Thank you very much. Be careful, stay warm. Thanks for having me.